All right, welcome back to Jay's Jeep and Classic Car channel. Today we're working on the Mustang, trying to get it to turn over reliably. Join me in the adventure. All right, so where we left off last time, we were able to get it to crank over a little bit off the jump. So now we are going to take the spark plugs out, clean them up, as well as put a little bit of penetrating oil down in the cylinder and hopefully kind of free it up so that it spins better. I have a suspicion that that battery might not be good either, but as long as we can jump off of another car, we should be all right. So join me in the adventure.
All right, we've already got number one out. The other thing we need to be doing, marking these plug wires, or else I'm going to get them all confused. Alright, so we've stopped for a minute and labeled everything. So now we're going after number 3 here. I would have had a big mess on my hands if I hadn't labeled this stuff.
Alright, we're just going to try to start it with no spark plugs in, just on the battery and no jump. And let's see what we get. Imagine it's not going to work, but let's see. Yeah, I'm going to have to jump it. Alright, so I haven't sprayed any penetrating oil. I just want to see what we get without the spark plugs in. I'd rather just use engine oil versus penetrating oil and thin out my oil, but let's see what we get. So as you can see, we were getting 8 volts out of there when that thing was wide open. Alright, so here we are. I'm going to put the spark plugs back in without hooking up the wires, and then run it against some compression. I might even just put a few of them in, like 2, 4, and 6 or something like that, and or 1, 2, and 4 or something, I don't know, and then run it like that. Alright, so I just put them all in, but I only put them in hand tight so that if we need to take them back out real quick, we can. We're gonna jump it using the minivan and just see if it turns any better than it did before. Alright, so we got spark plugs in, hand tight, and now we're going to crank it. Let's see what we get. It just really struggles against compression. Probably going to take a couple out, see what that does, and or spray a little lube down in there and see what we get. Alright, so what we did was we pulled out all these spark plugs here. I decided that if I'm having a problem with 1 or 2 of them, it's probably all of them, and so I just decided to do all of them at once. I took some of this Deep Creep Seafoam penetrating oil with the straw, and I sprayed it in each one of those, just a quick little shot just to get down there and try to lubricate all that stuff up. Now we're just going to let it sit for a minute before we work to run the starter again to move those cylinders up and down and try to get everything lubed up real well. The other possibility of what's going on is that it could be that the starter, while there's no resistance against it, can move it, but as soon as there's pressure and resistance against it, it's just struggling. With nothing on it at all, it's pulling like 8.3 volts, but as soon as I put any sort of resistance against it, it's dropping down to 4, 3, 6 volts, and I'm not sure that's working correctly. It could just be that that starter is weak, and so that could be the problem as well. I've been working on the 6-volt Jeep system so long that I'm not sure
how it translates to the 12 volt. Alright, we're going to start her up and see what she does. Alright, so we ran it for about a minute to let all that move up and down. We're going to put the spark plugs back in, tighten them up, put the plugs back in. If it doesn't move it, then we're done for the day and we'll have to buy some parts. So we'll work on putting in the spark plugs. Now we work to tighten them down. Alright, let's see what we get. We're going to crank it. Now, I saw something smoking, so that's not a good sign. Alright, so that starter's super hot right now. Probably burned it up in the process. I'm not sure it was really working anyway. Looks like we're going to have to pull it out and replace it at this point, which is somewhat frustrating, but it is what it is. Might also need a new battery. It definitely smells sulfury over here, and it just does not have enough cranking amps to crank this motor with this starter. I've had to jump it for years now, really, and so I'm not sure what the issue is there. I appreciate y'all watching. To be continued in another saga here. Y'all take care. It's time for supper.